Hi folks, this is Bama Gyps. I always seem to be sick when I do these things, and I've got a rather nasty cold right now. Not even really so much a knife review as more of a more questions than anything. We met this guy at the Chicken and Egg Festival, and he's a blacksmith, and he was working on some knives. And most of the knives he does, he fixes to deer antlers, and I'll splice in some video of some of his stuff, I think. But he's a local guy here in northern Alabama, and had this one knife that he made, and I just really liked it. And I don't know a lot about knives, and I'm pretty new to the knife collecting, but I've wanted everyday carry knife for a while. This might be ridiculously big, but I tend to, if things go on my belt loop, I tend to dress with them in the morning as part of part of the uniform than just a typical pocket knife. My pocket knife collection over the years has been very sparse and very cheap. So I picked up this knife from him, and we did it in a package deal. My cousin bought some other knives that he was going to have custom made, so I had seen this one, and I really liked it, and I just kind of want to know what you guys think. And specifically, I've been kind of learning a little bit about knives watching the Apostle P, the Apostle P's YouTube channel, and I really don't, I'm not a knife guy, but it just seems something that's a fairly affordable hobby, and something that I rather enjoy just sitting back and watching his videos. And I've learned, picked up a couple things from him, and I just really like to kind of see what he thinks about this knife. And I'm going to give a disclaimer. It is a homegrown knife. It is made here in the backwoods of northern Alabama. So it's not perfect. There's some flaws in it. But I like the idea that the knife was made here locally. And if I had to compare it to something, it's like the Wrangler Star channel. Cody makes a lot of his own tools, and that's kind of what this, what I equate this to, is it's rather, there's some flaws, and that's no disrespect towards Cody and the things he does, but I just mean it as in, you can tell it's homemade and not made in a factory is all. So the guy that makes this is, I wouldn't say he's a he's an artisan, but I think for what it is and for the price I got it for, I think it is very cool. And we can nitpick the flaws at the end or as we go through it. And I think there's room for improvement, but I was just kind of curious as to what do I have? What can this thing do? So without further ado, let's go ahead and, now for the record, it's a K-bar sheath. And I liked it because it said U.S. Navy, and I was in the Navy for 4 years. I was a sonar technician on the USS Vicksburg. But one of my chief complaints, I do like the sheath, but it is about an inch too long. The blade, it's a little big for the blade. The tip of the blade comes right there, so it's got a little bit of a flop. I wish it was just a little bit smaller, a little bit tighter. It's got some play in there, but what made me fall in love with this blade, see if we can get this to focus here. We might have to kill the light. What made me fall in love with it is the pattern on the knife. Let me turn this light off. There we go. And this pattern in the knife is not laser etched or anything like that. What this guy does is he takes steel cable 1 inch in diameter, the kind that is used in structural engineering, building bridges and things like that. So he takes a steel cable and he forges it, he pounds it out, and so you get, that is actually textured in the blade, and you can rub your finger along it and you feel, it feels like very subtle, very subtle, but it feels like snake scales. And I've just been playing with this knife all day and just running my hand up and down. Let me get this light off. Well, once the video starts, you can't take the light off. Isn't that something? Let's see if I can tone it down a little bit. Anyways, I just thought that was really neat. And so much so that it's one of those things that I had to have. The texture on it, it's just cool. Just running your hands down it. Now, my knife knowledge is very limited, so y'all bear with me. And I'm learning, and this is one of the first purchases I've made. But I'll just give you my initial impressions, and then I don't know exactly which direction this knife should go, so that's why I'm making this video. Hopefully I can get a response and maybe some direction. Look at the scales on it though. That's really neat. Apparently that's the steel braid of the cable matted out in the forging process, and he hammer forges it out. So I just think that's really neat. It has a massive spine. I would imagine, I would say maybe a quarter of inch thick, and it's very massive and very solid. The handle is made out of this material. It's like a Kevlar material, and he showed us, and I'll splice in some video again, he showed us the billets that he makes it out of, and it's a synthetic, almost like a Kevlar. It's a laminated material or a carbon fiber, and it's very dense. And he just shapes it out, and you can see there's a little bit of flaws in it. You can see it's not perfectly smooth, but the good news is you can still shape this material while it's on the knife, and I might go ahead and do that. There's some of the layers, but it's very dense. It's a very hard material. This knife to me is reminiscent of a buck, and again, I'm no knife expert, so please don't take anything I have to say. I don't even know which direction I should take with this knife. It is let's see here, it is, let's see if we can see this blade here. The ricasso, it's got a good space there to be a user, you know, to work some wood or whatnot. I'm just wondering what this knife is going to be good for. Is it only going to be good for like a camping knife and to beat with the back of a stick with the stick and chop up some firewood and splinter some wood? Oh, I forgot to mention, the steel that is in this knife is reportedly It's 1075 high carbon steel. And I looked up online, and the story matches that it's primarily used in structural steel and primarily in cables. So I just think that's interesting. I don't know anything about the various steels and sharpening. I don't know how well the edge will hold. I'm told it's a very hard steel. I don't have any use on this knife yet. Yet it looks kind of used, I guess you could say. Not being a one thing I'm a little disappointed in, and I'm thinking maybe it could be corrected, is the point. It's fairly blunt, I think. Can't really get a good. So if you wanted to shank somebody, I say that jokingly, if you wanted to shank somebody, I guess it would get the job done, but I'm not too. I think it could be reworked. I think it's almost like there's almost like a chip out of it there. There we go. It's just a very odd, to me, way to come to the point. And I don't know enough about knives. But I think it could be reworked and a better purpose worked better. Another one area of disappointment is down here by the ricasso. Looks a little unfinished. It looks a little forged, but not polished or ground down to. It just looks kind of unfinished there. It looks almost burnt, I guess you could say. And right here on the on the bevel comes all the way to here, right to this point, and then when it gets up near the ricasso, I don't know if you can see that right there, the angle of the grind changes. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's not very sharp right there. You can see right there where my fingernail is, the angle of the I don't know if that's because you can't get in there to sharpen it at the proper angle. I don't know. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with this. I like to hike a lot, and I enjoy camping, and I just think it would be a really good all-purpose knife to have. We're going to do some paper tests, some VA forms. Thanks for due to sequestration, I didn't get my GI Bill this year, so glad I could serve. Anyways, this knife is not very sharp. It's very so I guess what I would ask Rob is, if I sent this knife out, if he could kind of give me some guidance on it. What exactly order could I do with it? And I'd like to order another one. And again, you know, I'm not looking for $1,000 collectible knife or whatever, you know. But I thought it was a fair price for it. He asked that I not disclose how much I paid for it, but I think it's very fair for what it is. And I was happy to fork over the cash for it in the package deal. So I'm just kind of wondering, which direction should it be? A cutter? Can it be a cutter? I don't know, but it's not very sharp as it is. It doesn't like this paper. See that? And maybe if I sent it out to you, Rob, maybe you could give me some advice or your thoughts on it, or is it junk? Is it something worth? Is it worth anything? I just think the story of it is neat. How it came to be, and it's local and it's homegrown, and I just can't get enough of just running my fingers up and down. And it's very, like I said before, it's very subtle, very, very subtle, but you can feel it's almost like petting a snake. It's really cool. So yeah, I was happy to pay the money for it. Right now I think it's too dull to do anything with. And I'm just wondering how this edge will hold up once it gets a decent grind. And oh, there you go. Tell me what y'all think. I'm definitely curious to know. Thoughts on it. Until then, to borrow the words from Apostle Peter, this knife is fairly sharp. Not really, but the word